Hello everyone, I am back, and to update you on what's going on, I just got back from the long flight and road trip to Green Bay, Wisconsin to pick up the molds for the conversion of a C5 Corvette into a 56 or 57 Corvette. Then on the way back, I picked up suspension for a C5, both front and rear suspension. Then I dropped off the molds in, where was it? El Dorado, Arkansas. And that guy is supposed to be making me bodies as we speak. Then I drove back to DFW and dropped off the front and rear suspension. The reason I need the front and rear suspension is for the Hellahaye, which is the Delahaye USA Pacific with a Hellcat engine in it. I had a custom frame made. I picked it up at the Street Rod Nationals last month, and this front suspension goes under it along with the rear suspension. I bought Rick Dobberton's adapters to allow you to put a C5 or C6 suspension under virtually anything. So I needed to take some measurements. What we did was we took our best guess because the body is in one place. We didn't have the frame made. We were trying to figure out what the dimensions were, and we didn't have a C5 or C6 suspension, but we used the dimensions off of Rick Dobberton's website, made the calculations, and took our best shot at it. Now what we did was we set it up so that the wheels would be in the right place using this typical wheel offset of a C5, C6, Z06 because it's the wider wheels and tires. So ideally, when we do get the body and set it on here, it will fit with the tires in the correct location. Now, if not, of course, we can have custom wheels made. It's going to be close, but we can have custom wheels made to correct it. But hopefully it will work with the factory wheels, or at least the Z06 wheels. So let me show you what I've got. All right, Rick's kit consists of these uprights. This is the back ones right here. They're these cast aluminum pieces, rather robust. They go bolt onto the factory, in this case, C5 rear suspension. And what happens is it makes an L right here, an L right there, and ideally your frame rails will fit right in between here, and you simply bolt this to your frame rails. What I did was I measured, once I got all this together, I measured from the inside of this piece to the inside of that piece, and it is 2 feet 8 inches. So then I go over here to the frame. And I'm not sure exactly forward and backwards where this is going to mount, but it doesn't matter because this frame is the same width all the way forwards and backwards. So I measured across here, and it is 2 feet 10 inches. So what that means is it won't bolt up. It's 2 inches shy. So what I have to do is, and this is part of this suspension system, the way it's designed, is I come in here and I cut this in the middle here and then spread it out the 2 inches that I need, and then put a plate on top of this or weld it, or there's several different options just to connect it back together. Now, obviously, one of the consequences of this is my axles. Now, my axles will be 1 inch further out on each side, which means the engagement here won't be as deep by 1 inch. So I will either have to get slightly longer axles or have less engagement there. With 700 horsepower, I'm not sure the less engagement is a good option, but that's something I'll cross later on when I get to that point. But right now, that's what I needed to do. I needed to figure out, do I need to mess with this? It would have been great if this would have just bolted right in place without any modifications. In the future, I may change that, may decide to make the frame a little bit narrower there, or may decide that this is the best option. I won't know till I get there. If it fit, then I would just bolt all of this together, slap it in there, and then temporarily locate it in place. And I already have wheels. They're not the Z06, they're the standard ones, but that would allow me to put wheels on this thing. And I could roll around the frame by grabbing a hold of this bar on the front and just rolling around by the back wheels. Unfortunately, that's not an option. So I'll have to figure out what to do about that. The other issue is Rick was out of one of the uprights for the front, so I only can put the upright on one side, and I am going to assume that the width is the same on both of them. I'll have to check on that. I'll have to look at his website and see what it says about the dimensions there. But anyway, that needs to be verified as well. I'm just assuming that this one will also have to be cut in the middle and widened 2 inches. The other thing that has to happen is this factory fiberglass spring. Corvettes use a fiberglass leaf spring laterally mounted both on the front and the rear. It does offer the ability to be height adjustable. I could leave that on there and just assume that the spring rate would be close enough, but rather than do that, 2 things. One, I have some coilovers I can use, so that would work. The other thing is I am probably going to want height adjustable suspension. I want this thing to be low to the ground when it's not driving around, and then obviously higher for ground clearance for driving around. So I will probably get something like an air ride, or there's another one out there to allow me to have air adjustable suspension system. Again, that's in the future. I don't need to worry about that for now. I don't think these shocks offer any height resistance. I don't know. Although that is pretty hard to push down. I would have thought I could have pushed it down, but I can't. So it may not need anything for now. I can just be able to put it all together. It would obviously be at the wrong ride height, but I don't really care about that temporarily. So I do need to take the leaf spring out, which is not a trivial task, but it is made much easier because this is off of the car. I've tried to do it on the car previously on another car, and it's a big chore. But I'm thinking with it off the car, I might be able to just unbolt it and slide it out. We will see. All right, I think that's everything I've got for now. I did try to clean up this at the car wash. Ideally, I would like everything to be nice and, at least somewhat presentable as it is. But as you can see, this one over here is a little grayish looking, and you can tell that it's a 25-year-old part that's been in service. The cross members themselves would be presentable. They are a bit speckled, which I don't like. But this one over here is worse. It's kind of a, brownish color. And then of course there's the rust right there. I took it to the car wash, used Simply Awesome and Purple Power. They did clean them up a little bit, but not to the point that I want. So I'm going to today go get some aluminum cleaner and try some other things to get it cleaner, see if I can get it to an acceptable level. Ideally, I would have it soda blasted or any one of those blast approaches, but that really would require me to take everything apart, and I'm lazy. I don't want to take everything apart if I can avoid it. The last option would be just paint everything aluminum color, which may be what I end up doing, at least in the interim. I do need to see what do you need to do to aluminum to increase the likelihood that paint is going to stick. And again, that's on my list of things to do. Let's see, that's all I can think of. You can see that didn't get quite all of the areas. I was, like I said, at a car wash spraying it. I do have a power washer myself, so I can clean this up and use some chemicals. Ideally, this will all be cleaned. And I think that's it. Little rust treatment there on some of the lines, although I'll probably replace those with the stainless steel braided lines. And I might even upgrade the brake system from the Corvette to an aftermarket. Not a big deal. All right. Something else. The steering is going to be a minor issue. If I widen the front end by 2 inches, then ideally each of the tie rods would need to be widened by... No, they won't. I take that back. That'll take care of itself. When this gets widened, the tie... No, I will. Okay, that is going to cause an issue. If you look, the steering mounts there. If I cut it in the middle and widen it, then the steering rack's not going to mount correctly. It's going to be off by an inch on each side. So good thing I looked at that. That's something to consider. May sway me to have the frame narrowed rather than the steering issues and all of the other issues, the axle issues, all of that would come with having to widen this 2 inches. All right, so you can see that this is all still in the planning stage, but that's where I am now, so I wanted to update you, and I will sign off and go do some more work. Go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate, and if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't know Jack. Bye.